Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, depending where you're listening from. We're so glad that you've joined us on screen. My name is Samantha Caruth. I'm the Associate Director for Family Engagement on the New Student and Family Programs team, and I'm excited to bring to you another session of the Eagle Family Webinar Series with various topics designed to keep you informed and to give you some tools to support your Eagle success. I'm so excited that I have my colleague Rima here with me, and Rima is just a wonderful partner in supporting students in so many ways. And I'm really going to just give you like a little bit of info, her title, and I'm going to pass it off to her. Rima Sifri is the Associate Assistant Director for Public Administration, Police Administration, and Community Training. And Rima's work is engaging with students, with families, and really making sure that we all are informed about the safety procedures on campus and that we can all work together and support each other, both staff, students, administrators, and faculty and guests when they're on campus. So with that maybe not so short intro, I'm going to kick it off to Rima to tell us all about safety on campus and maybe a refresher for some things you may have heard before, maybe some new info. So with that, take it away, Rima.
Thank you, ma'am. Hi, everybody. I'm Captain Rima Sifri. As Samantha said, I am with American University Police Department and handle all the community engagement. So I'm super excited to be here tonight. We are going to go over this presentation and about safety and security on campus, and we hope that you find it very informative. If there's anything that you obviously want us to add, I would love to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. So before we talk about jurisdiction, I'm happy to announce that we have a new chief of police. His name is Jay Gruber, and he comes to us after 13 years with Georgetown University Police. And prior to that, I think it was 28 years at the University of Maryland Police Department. So obviously somebody that has an incredible amount of experience in higher ed specifically, and has just been a great addition to this department, has already definitely done a lot of great things. So we're super excited to have him. Again, his name is J.J.A.Y. Gruber, Gruber, if you want to look him up. So, who are we, right? What is AUPD's jurisdiction and authority? So we're a licensed police department through DC's Department of DLCP, right? There's a lot of different things that have to be done on our end to make sure that we're complying with all the regulations. We have to go through a background check every 2 years. We have to do a couple other things. So it's not just here's your police license. There are several steps that we have to take to ensure that we're in compliance. We are considered campus special police officers, which means that we only have authority on campus in any AU-owned building. So we can't run lights and sirens down to the law center, although we get there very quickly. But we still have the authority to search, seize, detain, and arrest. To be very clear, we are guardians, we're not warriors. We're not here to lock up everybody. We want to make sure that we're making a positive impact on everybody's life, whether it's a visitor that's here for an hour or students that are here for 4 years. We want them to look beyond the badge and see us as a resource. Given what's going on in the national spotlight, it is nothing that AUPD condones. It's pretty disgraceful and obviously criminal. We're hoping that you take the time to get to know us. I wish I could take the pain and trauma away of what's going on in the national spotlight, but hopefully after this presentation, you'll see just how much we've done to make sure that our campus community is safe. So, talked about that. The authority is derived from the DC Law 1163 about college and university campus, the Security Act. So something that you can definitely look up if you have time. So we'll go to the next slide. So we're sworn officers to the DC Police Department. We have 30 sworn and then 15 police supervisors, which includes the chief of police, me. And then we're about to hire a new patrol captain that we're pretty excited about. So there's 2 captains, a chief, 3 captains, sorry, and then sergeants, lieutenants, and corporals. We do have to go through a 12-week field training, Consortium University's Police Academy. And then it's incredible programming and fair and impartial policing, LGBTQ plus awareness for law enforcement personnel, de-escalation. Our job is to make sure that we de-escalate as quickly as possible. Obviously our uniforms could scare people, but that's not our intention. But in order for us to have our authority, we actually have to have our uniform on. So people have said, well, why can't you go to crisis calls in plain clothes? We wouldn't have any authority, and obviously that would be pretty detrimental. We also have a 12-week field training program at AU that sometimes either is before the academy or after, just depending on when the person's hired. We are crisis intervention certified. So what does that mean? So not only do we have to go through the 12-week field training program and then the 12-week academy, we get a separate 40-hour training, which is just nothing short of awesome, where we learn how to deal with people that have diagnosed mental health issues, perhaps not to belittle this, but a temporary one, perhaps, someone has gotten a grade that, might cause some problems with the family. We want to be there to make sure that we help with that conversation, also before it happens. So what happens is that 40 hours, and then what we do is when we get this type of call, we go out, and it's called it's a co-responder program. So we're responding with the community director on duty. We're talking to the student. We call the counselors on call, and they'll say either take them to the hospital now, or they can stay in their room until tomorrow to talk to a counselor. So it's not always, we don't want to show up and people think, oh my gosh, I've done something wrong. We're here to help you. You obviously need that help. We talk it out, and we just want to make sure that you're successful mentally, physically, and emotionally. We've talked about the background check. We are currently trained in less than lethal weaponry. And what does that mean? So pepper spray and baton. In my 21 years and almost 1 month, I've never even had to deploy any of those. We have a great community, and we're very thankful for that. We just did a 1.5 year study where it was decided that we were going to stay at that level, that we weren't going to carry firearms. MPD is right down the street, so if we do need them to respond, they'll be here. So the chemical weapon is, don't make me butcher this name, but OC, pepper, and then the impact weapon is the ASPATON. As I've mentioned, the AUPD officers are trained in de-escalation techniques. We follow MPD's use of force policy. So there's a policy and there's an escalation in that policy. So if A happens, we respond with A. If B happens, so it's called a use of force continuum. All right, so when Phil Morris, our previous chief, came in, he's a former chief of the U.S. Capitol Police, so just incredible. And then Dan Nichols was his assistant chief, who actually came here first, 6 months prior to Phil. They realized that they had a pretty big job on their hands, right? The goal of the strategic plan for 2012 was to make sure that we're increasing physical security and then the emergency response when it comes to the protocols of the university. We wanted to make sure, obviously, I mean, our job is to prevent crime, and so it was based on that prevention and then the security posture of any threats or risks that could impact our university at any time. So AUPD and the Office of Risk Management created this plan in 2013 because it took some time, obviously, to do it, addressing, the evolving security and risk management needs across campus. So obviously, with everything that could happen out in our country, we want to look at our policies and say, okay, what would we have done if this happened here? 9 times out of 10, we're always looking at those policies. We're not a reactive university, thank God. We're definitely somebody or an entity that wants to make sure that we're prepared for everything. Obviously, making strategic decisions on what those methodologies are going to be across all operational elements of the university, right? It's not just what is AUPD doing. We want to make sure we're educating the community on what we're doing and how to keep as safe as possible. Obviously, an all hazards approach. It's not just, okay, what are we going to do? And I'll give everybody a trigger warning now, talking about active assailant. We're not just talking about active assailant. We're talking about what's going to happen, when there's potentially a bomb threat, when there's a earthquake, a tornado, any weather related emergencies, and then just really any emergencies just really period. How do you shelter in place, and those things. We obviously do recognize that, armed police officers are not always the answer, and they don't always prevent gun violence from occurring. The most recent, obviously, Virginia Tech, UVA, Michigan State, they unfortunately weren't able to stop the shooting from occurring. Although the response time is a significant consideration. So when we have to go into lockdown, we've gone into lockdown 4 times since 2013, all out of an abundance of caution. We've never had an active assailant. We consult with MPD on our policies. And the great thing is, as soon as we go into lockdown, we call them and they know they need to come in and take care of the problem. Obviously, the best approach to this is deterring and preventing violence in advance. That's why we have so many policies in place. So there's no question we're all on the same page. All right, so I'm going to give everybody a trigger warning. We're about to talk about active assailant and some other things that might be stressful. So residence hall security is locked 24/7. They are staffed with duress alarms and monitored by cameras and then access control technology. We have the ability for the remote campus lockdown, classroom lockdown. We have the ability to hit a button that sends a remote message to all the exterior doors to lock down. It also locks down all the interior card readers, except the ones that are on Salto locks. Card readers are a different technology, so that's a different part of the training. But we've invested a lot of money in hardware. Why? Because we care and we want to make sure everybody's safe. Our law enforcement partners are, abundant. Homeland Security, the FBI, several other agencies that we use to help make sure that they're helping with the critical infrastructure assessment and then making sure that we're doing everything right. We established standards when it came to security and emergency notifications for all the university buildings. Not only do we have an alert system when you get the text messages, but you have beacons in the buildings that take that text and to talk. We have speakers on top of our blue phones. So there's just so many things. We don't want to just invest in one notification system. We want to make sure that we have that redundancy. So if one fails, we have the other one. We have, like I've said, implemented the mass emergency communication through Rave. So there's Rave alerts that you get on your phone. Students are automatically registered into that program when they register for classes, faculty and staff when they're hired. So I don't want to confuse Rave alerts with the Rave Guardian app. Rave Guardian app is a security app or safety app that you have to log into. You have to create a profile, and then you can use that as much as you want. So that you have to enroll in and sign up for. The Rave alerts that you get on your phone, you are automatically registered to this. Also, the camera coverage, USSS, by the way, does not stand for the United States Secret Service. It stands for University Safety and Security Services. We've expanded our camera coverage. I never thought in a million years we'd have 604 cameras on campus. But again, it just goes to show that from the administration that we have now with President Alger, back to President Burwell and then Dr. Kerwin, who's also the president. They've made that investment because you're important to them. So that's super important to us. The partnerships, the National Capital Region Threat Intelligence Consortium. We also have the Washington Regional Threat Assessment Center, Homeland, the FBI, obviously, MPD, and DC Fire and EMS. Also, while we're talking about these partnerships and other federal agencies, I'll take a moment to discuss the presence of ICE, right? So because we're a private university, ICE just can't come onto campus and start rounding people up or taking people, right? There's a external protocol that we share, and basically someone needs to call us and we need to respond. We need to confirm that they actually have a judicial order or / warrant. And we need to make sure we confirm the identity of the agent. We need to see your ID. If you're a mask, we need you to remove your mask. There's also some internal protocols that are happening that I can't share with you, but let me just say we've got it under control. If the judicial order is something that's valid, because we've been taught, what's valid and what isn't, then unfortunately we can't interfere with that service of that warrant. So we have to allow them to unfortunately remove that person from campus. But again, they have to have that. And if they don't, then they're going to be asked to leave. There is something that I'll share with Samantha as part of this PowerPoint. And I'm sorry I failed to put it in here, but what to do when you're off campus, right? Basically, you have to remember your constitutional rights. Someone knocks on your door, you don't have to answer the door. You can slide this card that will provide under the door. If someone stops you, you ask them if you're allowed to leave, right? You don't say anything or sign anything until you've consulted with an attorney. So those again are all your constitutional rights. But in the moment, I can't imagine how stressful it is, and we sometimes forget that. So keep that in mind as well. So in terms of weapons incidents, there have been some there are incidents where, as you can see on the slide, that we've had to deal with. So we don't pretend like we don't have things that happen on campus. Fortunately, it's been very few and far between, as you can see the dates. But we're here, we are very well trained, and we're trained on how to handle these situations. So we do threat assessments of people of concern. As you can see, from 2020 to 2023, we had 58 threat assessments regarding people of concern. Those 58, they might have resulted in one lockdown. Why is that? Because we were able to mitigate that threat. We have the ability and we have those connections with federal agencies to conduct a threat assessment like that. And we also are talking to psychologists. We're talking to the dean of students office. We're trying to gather as much intelligence as we can to make sure that we make the right decision. In terms of additional incidents of in terms of response, 27 on campus incidents, a total of 35. 5 arrests had been made. Several things had been confiscated. And then we have to remember that the property contiguous to campus property, we have to address those as well. University safety and safety programs, the Dean of Students Care Network, AU Counseling. I mean, as you can imagine, it runs the gamut. We want to make sure again that we're mitigating those threats as quickly as possible. All right, so I know this is a big slide, but in terms of emergency preparedness, I think we're probably one of the best around. We want to respond to any emergency, obviously in a very effective and timely manner. We're relying on the support and the notification by community members. We have provided every academic office-based collaborative work area on campus with these emergency quick reference guides that tell you what to do in the event of an emergency. I know that we train a lot on campus, but it's all too often. Sometimes people forget, right? And also in the heat of the moment, they're like, what do I do? So we've posted those all over campus and common areas. We've also posted our procedures and training to our website. We also send out a safety and security memo to the community, reminding them of all the resources. We meaning me, and some others in our department provide the Run, Hide, Fight training that was created by the Homeland Security, because unfortunately that's what we have to think about now. This really gives people the opportunity to learn what to do in an active shooter situation. We did last academic year, it was 170 events that we did, not only active shooter, but and when I say that, I mean just training. We do not do drills here as of right now. All right, so the AUPD active shooter armed intruder policy, members of MPD are trained and equipped to come and handle those types of situations. They're the ones that are going to evaluate the situation and determine what we're going to do. They're responsible for all the tactical operations. AUPD assists, but they're really responsible for handling the emergency. We want to take any tactical measures to find and stop the threat to the community. And we want to assist the responding agencies, but the primary role is to facilitate the rapid response of those emergency personnel, right? That's the main goal. It's our policy that once we communicate, once those people are notified, we immediately initiate certain measures, right? We activate the emergency lockdown button, which I've talked about. We alert the community through the rave emergency messaging. We call MPD 2D for a response to campus using the MPD radio or by calling 911. All right, so we've talked about this. So This is how we communicate the warnings and the instructions via text message. You'll see the first one is that's actually what Samantha and I will get, and anybody that has an AU computer will get this banner on their computer. So if they don't have their phones right next to them, they're going to see this. The alert is beacon, which is the next graphic, where again it's going to start beeping and it's going to do the text to voice. And then this is just the next one is an example of what those alerts look like. And then we have speakers on our blue phone. So as you can see, I mean, we've got it covered. Now, you know, if anybody has any suggestions, please let us know. But it's really, really important that people understand that you're not going to get these text messages for like if it's raining outside. You're going to only get obviously natural disasters, fires, gas leaks, or any active shooter situations. AU students, faculty, staff are automatically subscribed to this. Students, by virtue of them signing up for classes, faculty and staff by virtue of them being hired. Any visitors, family can text AU alerts to that number and receive the text notifications. You can also go to american.edu/emergency and look at your information there, right? You want to make sure your information is correct, or again, visitors can just add their information to that. And then you can go in and add your email as well. The great thing too about, I mean, being staff members and really being anybody part of the AU community, you can add 4 people to this. So, you know, you can add a staff, you can add your spouses so they know that probably shouldn't be texting or calling. Students, they can add their family to that, which, you know, so is kind of a blessing and a curse, because then we'll get calls from the family saying, what should my student do? We're just asking that people, again, you know, we're the police and we want people to trust us, but we're responding to that situation very quickly. So we won during one situation back in 2013, we got 350 calls to our dispatch center, and it was all, what should we do, what should we do, what should we do, or what should my student do? And again, this is no criticism, because we want you to call us because we want to be able to tell you what to do, but really just making sure that you read that text message, and it'll tell that person to shelter in place, and be as safe as they possibly can. All right, so the Rave Guardian Personal Safety app. Again, this is now a safety app that the person has to go in, set up their profile, put a picture, a current picture, not the one that you were like super cute when you're 2. You're still super cute. We just have to make sure that it's current. But this safety app is just awesome. So basically what you're going to do, there's three different components to this. First of all, it does transform your cell phone into a personal safety device. There's a timer feature that I'm not sure why isn't on here. But say you're going from, you know, Bender Library to McDowell Hall, you set your timer for 30 minutes, you get to McDowell Hall, you turn off your phone. I'm sorry, you turn off the timer. You don't turn off, a map of campus pops up with a pin down to your location, and we're going to call you and say, hey, is everything okay? The dispatchers are trained on what questions to ask and how to ask them. Also, if the student doesn't answer or sounds even a little bit scared, we're going to send officers running. That pin dot is critical, right? But also it sets digital breadcrumbs. So this works in DC. So if you're within a geo fence, so even off campus, if you're inside this geo fence, we're going to be notified and we're going to help you. Remember what I said about our authority. Just because you're off campus doesn't mean we don't care. We're not going to help you. We're going to keep you on the line, and we're going to call MPD to come in and help. Okay, so that's the bottom line. If you're outside the geofence, MPD has a smart 911 system where they get notified and then they call you to help you, you know, through the emergency or whatever it is. 9.5 times out of 10, it's all been accidental. The students have been are awesome, and they're like, I'm so sorry. We're just happy that you're okay. The panic button feature, you hit that panic button feature and it automatically calls us and sends us your location, which is awesome. And then the anonymous tip, that where you can send us tips about, you know, really anything that's going on campus. And you know, we'll respond. You can toggle to anonymous or you can stay confidential. But this has really been a critical app that we have on campus. I wish it was used a little bit more, but I'll take what I can get. But it's just a great system, and we just want people to know that we're here for them. All right, so global safety. So We obviously have students that study abroad. And again, it's all about communication. It's all about the care and concern that we have for our community. I don't care if you're on campus or if you're, studying abroad in Italy, right? We want to make sure that you are, I mean, for lack of a better word, that you're okay, right? We want to assess those risks that are happening overseas. Prior to a student going overseas, we provide them with a safety and security briefing. We make that specific to the country. Well, we make it specific to the country you're going to, but also just general safety tips, basically. We want to make sure that we're staying informed in what's going on in other countries because we want to be able to provide that guidance to that student. There have been times where there's incidents in other countries. One that I can remember very vividly is that I won't get too much into it, but there was an incident, we'll just leave it at that. And we were able to get a hold of every student within 20 minutes. They were like, how'd you know it? Because we know who's studying abroad and we know who's in that program. So we want to make sure that you're okay, right? I can't imagine what it's like to be away from home. And something happens, who's going to help, right? So the Office of Global Safety, they developed a process to assess these risks so they can make decisions. We can make decisions on how we're going to respond to that. When it comes to pre-planning, when you're overseas, it really doesn't matter. We want to make sure that we're responding properly during critical incidents abroad. We have obviously access to a lot of different intelligence, and we have liaisons with the Department of State to make sure that everyone stays safe. We can communicate with those travelers, those student groups, conduct periodic check-ins with the travelers that are in high-risk destinations. 1 minute a country could be good, and then the next minute not so good, right? So we want to make sure that we're staying informed on what's going on. Again, it's not about just safety on campus. We show this care and concern because we want to make sure that you're okay wherever you are. It's just so important to us. So that's the end of my presentation. I will stop sharing. And then if anybody has any questions, I would love to answer them.
Feel free to put a question into the Q&A chat box and Rima can answer it. We'll give a few moments, see if there are any questions there.
Yeah, and we'll be providing this recording. So if you don't have questions now, if you think I can be reached, Samantha has my information, so you can always just email her the question and I'll get you an answer as quickly as I can. So if anybody
Absolutely,
has any questions?
absolutely. It doesn't seem that we have any questions live, but it means that you've really given comprehensive presentation,
Thank
touched
you.
on so many elements. Some families may have heard some of this before, some it may be new. It's really great information to remind your students as you talk with them as they plan to come home maybe for fall break at the end of this week or even later on the semester, just to check in with them, make sure they are reminded of what's available to them right here on campus and even off campus, abroad or around in the city. I guess since there are no questions, we should go ahead and wrap it up. We've had a great group tonight. Thank you so much, Rima.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us for the Eagle Family webinar series. We look forward to seeing you on screen in the future. Please check the Eagle Family Webinars webpage for AU to see about upcoming topics and sessions. And we look forward to joining you again virtually. Thanks so much,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you. Have a great
Thank you.
evening.